bit.
One athlete she had to get ahead was Madison McElwain, who just crossed the finish line. Haley Hunter and Caitlin Sanders. We have two athletes that did not complete this, with one of them actually being capped. See Faith Ferguson out of CrossFit Maven, about 10 yards short. As Christy Ermo O'Connell was able to hold off a hard-charging Kendall Vintoletti.
And Ermo O'Connell came out with the approach of an athlete you could tell that is trying to make a push up the leaderboard. First athlete off of the race in the first interval, first athlete to the sled, chewed up a huge portion of that first 50-yard sled push in that first interval. She's one of the best in the sport in the ring muscle-ups. And despite getting a push from Kendall Vintoletti, who struggled a little bit ahead of her at the turnaround point, Christy Ermo did a great job going toe-to-toe with her fellow games athlete in Vintoletti. To the leaderboard as well. Ultimately, it was Ermo O'Connell pacing the buying portion, especially towards the end of this event, but that becomes so crucial. They were just enough for the ahead of Vintoletti and being one of the first athletes to finish under that time gap for the third interval. Vintoletti, a little bit of a slip there at the finish line, but still could be the sled across the line as well. Now the top score on the board for the final 8 is for Christy Ermo O'Connell. It's a much needed performance in the game.
8:08 by Christy Ermo O'Connell. The time to be coming in is 10:30. Kendall Vintoletti just 9 seconds behind her. Two athletes finishing in that third interval with one more heat to go for the individual men. We're so close, so far away. Top 10 female athletes at the first day of competition making their way out here onto the field for the 2021 Granite Games. I'm Chase Newell, alongside of me is Tommy Marquez. Tara Force on the floor as our third member of our broadcast team. With 2 minutes down and 1 heat to go, we have 2 athletes finishing inside that third interval of so close yet so far away.
Yeah, 3 2-minute intervals, 1 3-minute interval. We have some work on the rings, some work on the barbell. Everyone's favorite movement, the burpees. When you finish your time, you're buying up the interval, you got to do some sled work.
Definitely some work we have to do. Your latest ad is presented by CBD-MD. Now, talking to town is all of these teenagers. And I feel like some of these veteran athletes are making sure it's like, hey, over here, still got some weight in the wings for you.
Oh yeah, outside Chili is one of those athletes. Brendan James out the sheet has finished inside the top 10 multiple times, has come up with 1 spot shy of the individual podium. And so far she's doing well, but I think this is a huge turning point for her. One of the things that she struggled with relatively at the top of the sport is muscle ups. And I know she's got a new coach in Rachel Hartford and intake. This is a great opportunity
number 3 will start with a 2-minute time frame. You have to do 9 muscle-ups, 9 hang squat cleans with 125 on the bar, 9 lateral burpees. And that's just the bind. You gotta push that torque sled 50 yards down the field as far as you can. Bocelli side by side to new team phenom Mal O'Brien, who won last night's thruster run 3.0. Bocelli on the right, O'Brien on the left, and next to O'Brien as well as the other teenager, Emma Carey. So 2 individual semifinal rookies going head-to-head with a 6-time CrossFit Games individual. Mal O'Brien is blowing the doors off the field.
If we hadn't seen something similar pay off for her last night, initial instinct might be, hey, you're pushing it a little too soon, Junior. Maybe we'll hold off on Pink Manas so early in this event. But she did something similar yesterday with Thruster Run 3.0. And she proves she's got the engine on the back end to be able to hold on to such a fast pace and fight off some of the best athletes in the top heat.
Mal O'Brien leading the field. Alessandra Bocelli just got to her sled in about 8th place. Mal O'Brien, right side of your screen, down in lane number 1, you have Caroline Connors sitting in 2nd. And a trail of athletes behind those 2. Just over 5 seconds remaining. Now we saw Christy O'Connell get to the 50-yard mark. O'Brien just about 3 yards short. Seems like everybody else is lost in her weight.
I love that O'Brien is the one athlete that was jogging back to her rings at the outset. All the other athletes maybe started walking. O'Brien jogged, caught up with the rest of the pack. First one to walk. Just one of those little demeanor things that you like to see from a young athlete.
A tiny little warrior, and a huge thanks to our friends at the U.S. Army. What's your warrior? Find out more by visiting GoArmy.com. 15 seconds to go. You're leaving after the first intervals. Mal O'Brien, Tommy, like you said, normally I would say that was probably a whole strategy caught out of the first one, but what she did last night, got to trust the tape that we saw coming in. Time to beat by Christy O'Connell, 8:08.
This is when the event really gets real. This run to 7. We got a little taste of it, testing it out ourselves. Talking about fitness consigliere Dan Bailey, who also tested this event.
Little taste coming up, giving out the final those around 7.
And he said the same thing, the run to 7 is when it really starts to set in. Even after that 1 minute break.
Now, one thing we did see is that O'Brien definitely
30
pushed the
seconds.
pace early, where Alessandra Bocelli, I can't say that she went slow, but maybe it was one of those strategies that we've seen some athletes do, saving themselves for the round of 7. Bocelli last off the hang cleans, though. Bocelli on the right side of the screen, the black and red. Mal O'Brien, 1 rep left to go. Here she comes.
Bocelli also a little bit slower on the burpees over the wall. When she stands up, she's taking a second to collect herself before jumping over. And she's losing ground on some of the athletes during the walking portion.
Mal O'Brien to her torque sled first. She has about 2 yards left to go before she crosses the white line, pulls out those handles, and will start making her trek back across the football field. 50-yard sled drag back. The field of 4 or 5 athletes trying to keep pace with her between Caroline Connors, Rachel Gondarash, Emma Carey. In lane number 8 above them, with Ariel Lowen. Mal O'Brien basically out of the screen. She has 10 seconds to go. Now we saw Ariel O'Connell that got 3/4 of the way down. Emma Carey making half the way down at this second interval. Mal O'Brien just nearly getting halfway.
And that's kind of based on the amount of distance she made up on the pole there, and that portion, considering she did have the turnaround, she's going to be right around at that similar time frame that we saw Kendall Letty cross that line just before the next interval end. She should be able to make it on this next one, barring disaster, but it's going to be close.
It was very close for Ariel O'Connell. She got it right at that time. Allowed her to run across the field. Because outside of Charlie is making her way back to the ring. She is just at the halfway point of the first sled finish. So we are 10 seconds away from our third interval. Now O'Brien, she's on the far left side. We have that bundle of slides between 1, 2, 3, and lane number 8. Third interval, 5 reps, time to beat, bottom left corner of your screen. This interval coming 8-2 at 8:08. And it's not just going to be about finishing across the line on the pole. It's going to be about foot race across the 50-yard line to try to beat that time. Now O'Brien, center cover to your screen. Ryan Hayes Sparkling at 125, and a carry to her left. One of two 17-year-olds, Paige Powers in the previous heat, 18 years old.
I like Mel's birthing technique, staying a little bit lower to the ground, keeping her center of mass closer to the barbell. You don't need to stand all the way up to get over the bar here.
Mal O'Brien on the left part of your screen, super sled first. Emma Carey has moved into second place. As we are 1 minute away from the time to beat. And Mal O'Brien, 17 years of age, but competing like she's been here for years. And I think it's time to stop doubting her. We're wondering if she's going to be able to hang on. And we might have 2 other athletes in line to beat that, because Emma Carey and Rachel Vonderek, we finish. Knock, knock, Madison. Mal O'Brien's for real. Emma Carey, foot race. She's going to get second place in the event and finishes outright ahead of Rachel Vonderek. And your 2 youngest competitors go 1 and 2 in event number 3.
I don't know about you, but here's some chills.
All the way down my leg, Tommy. All the way down my leg. Unbelievable.
Mal O'Brien just turned it on during that second and third interval. Once she got to the pool portion of it, that was the spot where we've seen most athletes struggle. It was actually where Mal O'Brien shine. And then so tremendous grip from Emma Carey too to get the sled across at the same time as Rachel Vonderek, and then turn on the jets and still have something in the tank to beat her in the foot race to get second in the event.
And what's important about that is being such a young athlete, specifically to Emma Carey, to bounce back from not a bad finish in last night's event, because usually you see some of the younger athletes not have that emotional stability throughout the long period that is in CrossFit Games events. To bounce back and get second in this event speaks volumes for Emma Carey as well.
100%. The mindset that it takes for both of these athletes for Mal to come out exactly in that event the way that she did, for Emma to stay in the pocket, battling with some of these top athletes, fight back in the way to also take a top spot.
decision after the first day of competition. And it's good for her because you look in the middle of the field, on the right side of your screen, Alessandra Pacelli is struggling through these torque sleds.
Some significant rest despite pushing the pace on a little bit of burst here and there. I don't know if that's ultimately going to get the job done because she was in a race trying to catch up with Carolyn Stanley, who's in the top 5. She was actually tied in points with Mal O'Brien, but with how close the point spread is, she might be falling outside of the top 5 as well.
And it wasn't a top 5, as you said, coming in. There's what, a 20-point spread between 5th and 12th. So now you're starting to look at Christy O'Connell's finishing place and what type of leap she can make maybe up close to the top 5 with one more way to go today.
And even bigger than that, Erin O'Connell was in 12th, was 27 back of 3rd place Mal O'Brien, who's also tied with Carolyn Stanley. So we're seeing multiple spots inside that top 5 potentially getting shook up just from this one event.
Your leader after 2 events, Alessandra Pacelli, finishes in 9th in this heat only. That's not to tie in the place finishes we've had in the first 2 heats. You might see a bottom 10 finish. One athlete left on the field with lane number 10, Emma Ferreira out of Crossing Milford. And that'll do it for the individual women for event number 3. I'm going to start to have to think of some more positive things to say about Mal O'Brien as she goes back to back. The same thing we saw from Colt Mertens on the men's side between event 2 and event 3.
And really, this could be a bigger showing from Mal O'Brien, considering she took a shot at 200 pounds on the snatch in her final lift. She caught it. She was down in the bottom position, and for a while, it looked like she was going to stand out just walk around the last second. We're going to be looking at another 30 or 40 points for her in that first event.
Right off the bat, it's all Mal O'Brien in number 4.
Coming up early, no hesitation on pacing her decline. Every single time to start these intervals, she's the first athlete to the sled, showcasing that same level of tenacity that we saw last night in Froendt 3.0. Like I said, that was the minus on Snapchat to start this weekend. It's been all gas, no breaks for Mal O'Brien. And so just hard not to be excited about the performance so far. The big question was, were any athletes going to be able to challenge Christy O'Connell's time for that first heat? Well, Mal O'Brien answered that with an emphatic yes, and I'll do it a little bit better.
Mal O'Brien winning her 2nd event back-to-back, coming from last night. She's down with Derek Forrest.
Thanks a lot, guys. Here with Mal O'Brien's 2nd event way up the weekend. Get up a freestyle. It's not crazy anymore, but 12 grams of sugar is going to do you well after this event. You got your crew behind you, your coach James Townsend. Just talk about the win. First time touching the torque tank. What did you feel about that?
It felt like a normal sled, honestly, just go and grind through it. So.
You were battling there with Emma Carolee. No surprise there with that battle. Talk about seeing her, your periphery, and how you were able to continue to push from your goal.
I honestly didn't even really notice who was around me. I just stayed in my own lane and did the best I could.
Yesterday you looked up at the Jumbotron. Today you just focused. Finally, yesterday you said age is just a number. I've got a number for you. Number 1, tracking back. How do you feel?
It feels really good and good and feel work it off.
Congratulations. Guys, back to you.
Mal O'Brien back-to-back wins in event number 2 and event number 3. And now you can't wait to see who starts that pace in event number 4. Mal O'Brien 7:46. Emma Carey, your 2 17-year-olds going 1 and 2 in this event. Rachel Bondurant just edging out Christy O'Connell. So a lot of moving and shaking and number 3. Resurgence dominates the dramatic shakeup of the CrossFit Games amid a global pandemic and unprecedented challenges associated with it. Coming out to an Apple TV July 20th and available across all digital platforms August 6th.
Phase 1 was going to take us down to 5 minutes, 5 minutes.
We didn't have competitors next to us. We had no idea what the possibilities were until we were into the weekend.
Beyond surprise, it was wild.
Every workout she could potentially win. But I just didn't pace it right. I'm not going to let the first 2 events define this whole weekend. So if I'm not the competitor that I used to be.
Well, when Corona hit, the virus year been strange, weird. We saw the Olympics get postponed. We saw the NBA season get postponed. 89% of all gyms across the globe, 96% of all gyms in the United States, we were shut down for 7 months.
It used to be a labor of love, and now it's a labor of
Saving the games and saving the athletes is great. It's like really CrossFit.
The world is on fire, man. It's insane.
It's what good for you.
The podium just felt like a little closer.
And in the CrossFit Games.
I just pushed myself to the limit way too soon.